Hi, Anna Carson here. I wanted to do another quick update actually on my tongue tie release, because I went to see, as I'd said in my last video yesterday, that I was going to go and see the osteo yesterday afternoon, which I did. And I was fascinated. Well, it was just amazing to really kind of get his feedback of how he felt my body had shifted within these few days since I had the release. So one of the first things that he noticed was, as I said, the kind of the change in my neck, the drop in my shoulders, the difference with the energy that was being held here. And he could, the minute he kind of put his hand, onto my shoulders, onto my head, feeling the energy kind of moving through, he was just like, wow, that's amazing. There's huge, massive changes. And you can see it, like just in the video, you can see the shift that's happened. Now, what he could also do was when I was lying, what he does initially is he kind of puts his fingers onto the soles of the feet and really feels the energy channels traveling up through the body, through the midline. What he experienced was just this almost, like he said, it was like an electric shock of energy. He could feel a clear channel kind of running right up both legs, through my central channel and up. And this is interesting because, and this is really kind of source energy, it's really how my body is allowing the energy to flow. And it's interesting because last year I had a number of months where I was really connected to source energy. And every time I went to the osteo, he was just like, wow, it's like putting my fingers in an electric socket. The energy is so kind of, huge in your body. And that had actually dissipated over the last few months. And you're now to have that coming back. And I sense that, in the last video, I said how I'd had restless legs a lot. But this whole kind of buzzing in my body. And so it's amazing to have that back, because last year there was external factors that were bringing this into my body, or allowing me to connect in with this source energy, whereas now it's an internal situation. It's an internal kind of way of being, which is amazing. I love it. So that was just huge confirmation. He was really kind of just like, wow, like this is massive changes that's happened just by doing this cut. And the other thing, like what he also, as he was, just feeling into that energy, he could feel that there was a couple of blockages. So I had a little blockage here from my heart to my throat, and I had another one down at the bottom of my spine, around where I had the epidural. So when the birth of my daughter 8 years ago, I'd had an epidural, and he could sense a little blockage there. So he worked during our session on shifting those. And what I'm also doing is doing some breath work, so doing some Qigong breath work to really solidify that connection. So coming up my body, down and round, and really like I said, solidifying that connection as he shifted it through here. And yeah, it was amazing because I have felt my body being very buzzy, but I'd also from a mood point of view, I'd been oscillating really quite massively. From an inspiration and motivation, and my general mood had been oscillating quite a lot over those last few days. But now, since he's cleared this blockage and the one on my lower back, everything's just pouring in now. It's amazing. Like everything's just pouring in. My inspiration, my motivation for my business, for just for being. I feel like I'm having a lot more clarity of just being able to see things as they are. It's all evolving, and even though there had still quite a tenderness, I guess, under my tongue, and he shifted a lot of that. So there's been a big change in that as well as he did the work. So that was, yeah, it's great confirmation for what I was feeling in my body, that he also felt it, and he was able to shift the blockages that were still being held. And interestingly, I'll do a kinesiology session on that. It doesn't feel like it's for me to do today, but I'll do a kinesiology session on it because, and I do this regularly after your osteo or acupuncture or any sort of body work. I'll do a kinesiology session because it then identifies what is the emotional or spiritual or your pattern that is held that physical shift there. It's held that physical pattern within my body, and so that I'm really getting to the root cause and clearing it so that it doesn't come back again. So I'll do that over the next few days whenever it feels right, and I'll share whatever it is that came through. But interestingly, as I was talking to the osteo after the session, I guess he sees things in a very similar way to me. And what he was really excited about was just understanding, like the whole midline, there's a lot of talk about midline defects, whether it's cleft palate or, various, just how we manage, whether we're crossing over midline. And I'd explained it before about this kind of internal rotation with shoulders and hips and pelvis and all of this sort of thing. So there's a lot to do with the midline as we're growing, as we're developing in utero, and the tongue tie is part of that. Your cleft palate is when the midline doesn't quite join properly, but tongue tie is when it's almost joined and continued. So just really interested to how this is linking in, but really seeing that this is a complete tethering. This is a tethering. It's a tethering of our expression of self. It's a tethering of, I guess, our gifts, our connection to source energy, a connection to our potential, and to who we're here to show, how we're showing up, who we're here to be. That this is is very much linked in with that. And I guess we were both fascinated in the fact that this is coming up, and obviously all the talk with MTHFR and the links between MTHFR and our ability to manage viruses and toxins, environmental toxins and preservatives and additives and colorings and all this sort of food. Like, all of this just feels like it's really part of our evolution. There's far greater things happening to help us on this path of evolution. The MTHFR is making us look at the things that we're putting in our bodies, the things that we're using, like I say, the chemicals and everything else, because we're not able to deal with them as easy, those of us who have the MTHFR gene. I don't think it's really a gene mutation, but I think it's the ability to methylate. But anyway, it's this whole, there's such an evolutionary process of this that we're being forced to look at what it is that we're putting in our bodies and returning back to natural foods and natural ways of eating and look, and like I say, cleaning products and all of those sorts of things. So I think this as well, the tongue tie conversation is really, ramping up. So many more people are talking about it, not only with children and with infants, with breastfeeding, but adults as well. More and more people are getting the release done. And I do feel that there's something around this, this call to express ourselves more, to show up more as who we are, to be able to open ourselves up to, who we're here to be. And like I said before, I'm fascinated to understand, is there a set of conditions that happen within utero that I guess cause this tongue tie to be present. Certainly when I've done the kinesiology sessions on I said this before, it's always linked back to, for me, Vanishing Twin, and for my daughter as well. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what are the set of conditions. It's not going to be the same for everybody, but yeah, this whole tethering, this limitation, and this need for releasing that and letting that go, and allowing ourselves to really show up as who we are and bring forward all of this. So yeah, it's fascinating. For me, it is. I'm a bit of a geek with all of this, and it gets my mind buzzing as to all these different links that are coming through. And as I said, it feels really much part of the work that I'm doing about this time in utero, the impact that it has on us, this kind of emotional blueprint that gets set up. And you're also looking at whether there's a physical blueprint that happens too, and how we can release that, how we can move through that, so that we can really show up. And like I said, I'm amazed at the changes that are happening already. Just 5 days after my release is happening, and how things are shifting physically, emotionally, and kind of spiritually. So yeah, again, I'd love to hear any of your experience with this. And how it's either showing up for you, or any kind of insights or anything that you have on this, because it's for me it's fascinating, and I'll keep sharing the stuff that's coming through over the next few days and weeks as this progresses, and I really kind of see the implications of releasing this. So thank you for listening, and yeah, connect soon.